Tim, very nice to
Everybody.
meet you, and thanks for coming out and doing this interview with me.
Yeah, I'm happy to help out.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned you went to grad school in Oregon.
Currently in my final year.
Awesome. Studying architecture.
Architecture.
Cool. So what do you think is going to be the role of an architect in the future?
Well, I mean, towards sustainability, it's everything. I mean, an architect is the built environment, and so I think as an architect, we have the social responsibility to provide a built environment that doesn't take away from the resources of the future. I guess sustainability to me is the idea of not taking anything that you can't put back,
Right.
or that you can't replace in some way
Right.
in the future. And so I think architecture is kind of should be the forefront of that. And so that's why
Wow,
it's
yeah,
important
makes
to
a
me.
lot of sense. Wow, crazy, yeah. So viewing the architect pretty much as a life designer, or the designer that creates structures that support life in a way, right?
Yeah, ideally. I mean, it's a
Ideally,
bit
yeah.
egotistical, but I think a lot of architects think of themselves that way, and I think that they think of themselves as the crafter of the space in which people live. And I think if more architects had a sense of responsibility to make sure that life is healthy and make sure
Right.
that life is sustainable,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
that'd be a nice world to live in.
Wow, yeah, crazy. Reimagining everything. Reimagining the role of the architect, reimagining the musician. That's actually something I think a lot about. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like musicians these days have such a big responsibility. Like having a following and connecting to people with music is entirely different than connecting with people through agencies like government or whatever, like I feel like the government uses as a motivator money, and musicians use as a motivator connection and fun and music, like people go to see a show, and I think we gotta leave.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, yeah, a musician these days, at least that's how I see myself, like having the responsibility to spread a message. What do you need to go through here?
Yeah.
All right.
Alright.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just like getting lost here in some unimportant thoughts, but
They're good thoughts. I think if you have an audience, you should say something good to them.
yeah,
So.
that's all I need.
You have more of an audience than
That's
I
all
do.
I was trying to say. I just sometimes I have like a very simple thought, and like the act of expressing it gets so complicated, Somebody's oh shit! Somebody's walking through with a knife and stab us. So
It's
yeah.
unsustainable.
Well, what else?
I don't know. Do you have any more specific questions
Yeah, of
about
course,
my
okay.
background and my
Yeah.
ideas? I'm just trying to think. I mean, if you want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about my research.
What do you think? Yeah, your research.
Yeah. So I'm just getting into my thesis right now, and
Uh-huh.
so the topic for my thesis is looking at settlement in China and this rapid urbanization that is going on in China, which I think is kind of the biggest chunk of settlement in terms of pollution, in terms of impact on the greater world. It's the most populous country by far, the most polluting country, catching up to the U.S., and they have this urbanization going on right now. And so what I'm looking at is ways to very quickly build urban settlement in China for hundreds of millions of people to move into that isn't as resource intensive as the building that's been going on currently.
Wow, that sounds like a huge project.
It is. It's a lot to bite off, but I'm trying to sort of pare it down to something that's doable within the next year, trying to finish up by June.
That's brilliant. That's amazing, man.
I hope it works out.
I'm sure it does, man. Anything that you want will work out. But wow, yeah. I think I haven't interviewed somebody with such a huge idea yet. Wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah, tell me more about it.
So specifically, kind of taking a system and designing it as a building, like a prototype or an example of something that can be replicated more and more in the future. So specifically what I'm looking at is in Shanghai, the site of where the 2010 Expo took place. Currently, it's just a somewhat abandoned, derelict site, which is really ironic because the 2010 Expo was built on this ideal of sustainability and of reuse, and better city, better life was their slogan.
Wow.
And now it's just an abandoned site. And so
No way.
looking at turning that back into a neighborhood that can be, some vibrant community that can move back into there, and doing that through net zero, carbon zero, prefabricated modular housing.
Wow.
So it's
interesting.
It's a little ambitious, but I'm trying to work towards a proposal by December, and then spend the next 6 months or so designing it.
Wow. You know what's interesting about this idea? I often think about how we're gonna make that switch from unsustainable living to sustainable living. And there's so many different concepts how to do it, right? And some of them are from top to bottom approach, and other ones are from a bottom to top approach. I don't know which one will do it. If one of them.
Yeah, personally, if I can interject. A lot of people passing through here. So the way I see it, it needs to be a little bit of both, kind of this meeting in the middle, where you have the top down kind of building a frame upon which settlement can come in organically from the bottom up. And I think that's the way you build healthy communities, is kind of this mix of a systemic government intervention that kind of sets up the frame, or the web, if you want to call it that, and then kind of provides an area that nurtures growth and that lets people have a little bit of agency in their own settlement without being total chaos. And so kind of this middle ground, I think, is the ideal way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about it from that perspective, but that makes a lot of sense. Just like kind of meeting together, you know, because we are in this world right now where we are doing changes by just navigating around our communities, and at the same time we have this massive hand, you know, the government, like doing also changes. Yeah. So trying to get both sides to pull on one string makes a lot of sense. So in this urban settlements you're trying to build, how will you incorporate, how will your design give the community the ability to modify and express their own creative energy?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. And the idea with modularity is to provide a fairly simple system that can be tweaked slightly to have a sort of an individual personality to each house. It's like Legos. You know, there's only so many shapes of a Lego. But if you have a set of Legos, you can assemble them in potentially infinite ways. Right. And so kind of creating a system that people can impose their personality upon, I think would be the best way to do it. Now, I don't yet know how to do that, but I think that would be nice, if you could have something that's not completely chaotic and not completely bottom up, but not soulless and this kind of system of urbanism that we have, where people get just kind of lost in these high rises, and there's no personality, there's no community, and there's no real sense of ownership or safety or agency within that. And so I think the built form really dictates in a lot of ways the way people act around it. Yes. And kind of finding a way to not make people act in a certain way, but provide them the opportunity to act the way they want, and make them happy and comfortable.
Have you thought about integrating grey water recycling systems and biodynamic farms?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's key. A lot of my background, I don't know if you've heard of Mike Reynolds. I want to just give the ultimate shout out to him. He has a system called Earthships, which is where this idea came to me. I had heard about him a few years ago, and I actually went and worked with him for a couple of weeks and did an internship. And that's awesome. And from that, a lot of these. Desert? I was in Montana. Okay. But we were building one up there, and I think he has some absolutely brilliant ideas.
Oh wow! So you're gonna aim towards maximum sustainability in terms of each individual house.
Yeah, as net zero as possible. There's LEED is very popular in terms of sustainable architecture, and I think beyond LEED, what's starting to become popular now is called the Living Building Challenge. And so I would implore everyone to look that up, and it's kind of this system of complete sustainability, where you are not detracting from the environment upon which you build. You're actually trying to give back and improve the environment which you build.
Possible.
Yeah,
it is possible.
And I think that should be the ultimate goal for settlement, is to make something that when it's gone, it's like it was never there.
Right. So what it seems like to me, with the physical infrastructure of your product, you'll also will need a huge network of education. Have you thought about that?
Not yet. I do agree. I think the way to do it is not to be this sort of the architect as kind of this holy figure. It's more of a teaching position, where you don't necessarily build a home for someone, but you give them the knowledge to go forth and build their own home, and to teach people how to build their homes after that. And so I think there's a lot to be said for education, and a huge obligation, I think, to teach and to spread this knowledge that people have.
Right. There's a great place I would highly recommend you to check out. It's called Tamera.
Tamera?
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Tamera.org. It's an eco-village in Portugal that tries to work on creating a replicable, is that the right word?
Replicable, yeah.
A replicable, that's a weird word. Replicable tries to create a replicable replicable system in Portugal that is self-sustaining. So they're using grey water recycling systems, solar power, permaculture farms, and they're really focused on the human aspect, because they're saying that sustainable communities tend to fall apart because of human interactions and ego struggles and whatnot. So they really focus on what is a sustainable emotional environment.
Yeah, that's really important. I think that's underappreciated in a lot of a lot of designs.
It totally is, and they're working now with slums all over the world to implement the system. I visited them this summer actually, and it blew my mind. It was really awesome. I'm in touch now with them, and actually really inspired me to do something similar. And I think it's definitely something you guys should check out, and if you're interested, Tamera.org.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I didn't know about that. Thank you for
totally. Cool. I think we gotta actually get going, but
yes,
hey,
it's turned into quite a thing. But thank you so much for having me.
It's super interesting.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, just go right for it.
I got big feet. I don't want to hurt somebody.
Yeah, no worries.
I got a bad leg, so I wasn't trying to reach out.
Yeah, I'm always happy to share. So I love the fact that you're doing this.
You got my number. Keep
Definitely.
me updated what's going on. You know,
I will.
I'm super interested. That sounds like an exciting project.
I plan on setting up some kind of a blog or internet publicity thing, just keep people
we can help you
up to
post
speed.
stuff, on our profile, and
fantastic.
Yeah, just keep me updated.
Yeah. And
anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We're here at Backstage Sustainability. Peace.
Later.
Nice, that's a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and like I said, I'll talk your ear off about